Aloha and welcome. My name is Gregory Dunn. I'm the President and CEO of Hawaii's Better Business Bureau. Welcome to Is This For Real? We're really pleased to have today here with us Mr. Gordon Bruce. He is the chairman and CEO of a local company called Pacxa.
Yes.
You may recognize him as also a long and historied career in Hawaii as both the Chief Information Officer of City and County of Honolulu. You also had a great stint with the Estate of James Campbell and quite a few other things. You were just mentioning you've been in tech since 1967.
Right, 1967. We had electricity back then, just for the record. No PCs, though.
Oh, yeah.
No PCs.
It was punch cards and tape and stuff.
Most definitely.
Yeah,
most
exactly.
definitely.
Well, you know, Gordon, the exciting thing about having you here today is so much of our life now is online, is tech, is electronics. And we're finding as part of Hawaii's Partnership Against Fraud and Hawaii's Better Business Bureau that more and more consumers are falling prey to scams online.
Right.
And we're really looking forward to hearing, you know, some stories about what's happened to folks in the community and maybe ways that people can protect themselves. So
Sure.
we really appreciate your being here with us. Why don't you just start off by telling us a little bit about Pacxa and the things that you folks do in the community?
Yeah, well, Pacxa is a very unique and interesting company. It's essentially been around for 2.5 years, but it's actually a merger of a number of smaller companies. So our parent company is Island Holdings. The Island Holdings is the parent of a number of companies: Island Insurance, Atlas Insurance. The Tokioka family started Island Insurance about 75 years ago when the Japanese could not get insurance. So this is pre-World War II. And so then they built an insurance company and we came to where we are today. Pacxa is kind of like the technology offshoot of that. There's never been a locally owned and operated, self-sustaining, full-service IT company in Hawaii. This is really the first that's like that. So here's Pacxa now with that same vision. We are going to be a locally owned and operated full-service IT company, which is what we are. We're now the largest in the state. I have 97 employees right now, over 600 clients, and we continue to grow and provide real quality service at that infrastructure and service level to locally owned and operated companies in Hawaii, including the government.
Well, you know, it's one of the things that we often tell people when they call and look for companies to do business with is we look for local company. You want to look for someone that you can go and meet with face to face. You look for the accredited business seal of the Better Business Bureau because you've been through the independent third-party review, especially in technology. I mean, I know a lot of folks get calls on the phone that says, "Hi, I'm calling from thus and such company, and I understand you have a problem with your computer. Why don't you let me log in from here and I can see what's wrong?" You know, what happens with those?
No, don't ever do that. Please don't ever do that. I mean, that's, again, you come back to what's happened in the fraud and all the things that happen. It's nice to know you've got a local face and local business people who are heading this up. You look at, I've been in Hawaii since 1979. Many of my senior execs are born and raised here. As a matter of fact, my president, Kelly Ueoka, is a Kauai boy, probably one of the smartest tech guys I've ever met in my life. He's now the president of Pacxa. So when you're doing business with companies like ourselves, you're doing business with people you know. You're not doing with someone that may be in here for a while and come and go. So, and that's one of the beauties of what Pacxa offers compared to some of the ones that come and go. And a lot of mainland people come and go.
Yeah, you have people that come and go, and I think that because technology has become such an integral part of our lives, people may not understand how much personal information they're really giving to the person that's working on their systems.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a credit card, you're done. That's it. You've got a credit card. You're already giving that out every second of the day, every time that you use it. You have an ATM card, check card, whatever. You're being followed. I don't care if you're walking into XYZ store and if they got a camera there. You're being followed. You're being tracked. It's there, but that's the society that we've created over the decades. So you're there, and we're conscious of that every time we're dealing with our clients.
So in terms of helping your clients to protect their personally identifiable information, what are some of the things you recommend to them to do to protect that information?
There's a whole number of things, but some of the things that are important is making sure that all of the systems that you are using are current. If you're still running Windows XP or the earlier releases of Microsoft product, you are susceptible and you have already been tampered with.
So you mean, in other words, just because it still works doesn't mean that I should keep using it?
Exactly. Just because the tire on my car is still working, even though it has no tread, that doesn't mean you still be driving that car around with tires with no tread. You have to stay current on all those things. The security patches that go on. I mean, I've heard people say, well, you know, I use Apple, that's not a problem. We know Apple systems that have been hacked. We know mobile phone systems that have been hacked. We know Microsoft products and systems that have been hacked. Microsoft, however, they've learned from their mistakes and have come way forward in leaps and bounds on the kinds of things that they offer now. And when Windows 10 comes out at the end of this year, it's going to be a whole new realm of security on that technologies that they offer.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you recommend for folks in the community that may be worried that their identification has been compromised? Let's say they made a mistake, they got the sweepstakes notification and they filled in everything down to their social security number, or maybe they were a government employee that recently had
recently got hacked. You know, I hate to say this, but this is probably something that people are going to be shocked. Your information has probably already been compromised. It doesn't matter, it has. Now, it's how important that piece of information about you is to the perpetrator. Right now, the most valuable record that is out there about any individual right now is a healthcare record. Credit card records sell for pennies. A healthcare record sells for $50. So if they can get your healthcare record, they will pay $50 per healthcare record. And you got to ask yourself, why is the healthcare record? What's in a healthcare record? Your background, your history, your family, your mother's maiden name, everything that you could possibly think of related to your genealogy is in there. And now they've got access to everybody that's part of your family, or and who you may have even had surgeons or doctors or dentists that you've had interactions with. So now those opportunities exist. How about the IRS? And I can talk to you personally about my experience with the IRS.
I mean, you were sharing earlier. What happened with that? And
so, a number of years ago, I got a letter from the federal government, the IRS, telling me that I owed them a tax return. And I was like, well, no, I did not earn those monies. And essentially, what it was, I could not file my 2007 tax return. I'll just pick the year, because of something that happened in my 2006 return. And then I followed up and they said, oh no, you already filed your 2007. I said, I haven't filed 7. So it ended up that someone had filed a 2007 tax return in my name. So I said to the federal government, so when are you going to tell me that happens? And they said, oh, that's not our job. Your job is to find out that someone came in and submitted a false tax return. I've subsequently found out that the federal government's paid out over $50 million in illegal tax return refunds to people that have never filed for that refund.
Wow. That's just an astounding number.
Astounding number. And so just to show you how it perpetuates itself, it's like, so how would I control that? I can't control what goes on at the federal government. So I just got one a month ago from the state of California telling me I owe them taxes based on what happened on that previous tax return. I had zero to do with it. I never submitted it. But now the onus is on me to prove to them that I never lived or worked in California. And there's ways to do that, but guess what? It costs you money.
It costs you money. It costs you time. You have the emotional expense of dealing with it, and it really can take a toll on folks.
And I'm in the business. So I feel, you know, if you imagine if you're someone that's not in the business and all you do all day is email and maybe chat with your kids and the family and that's it, and you have no idea what's happening out there. I hate to put panic mode into you, but that's the way that it is today.
So in a case like that, if you said that the IRS is like, they tell you it's your job to look into it, are there resources available for people to look into?
There's opportunity knocks. I mean, we get it more on the corporate level rather than on the personal level. So there isn't a lot of individuals out there that you can go to and say, walk me through the processes. Now, I'm not going to slam the government on everything, but you know, they do have online steps that you have to do. You have to file different forms and reports and get documents and send them to them, and they step you through the process, but they give you 30 days.
Well, they give you 30 days, and the unfortunate truth is that the average person that has a situation like this will spend 6 months getting it resolved in 200 hours of their own time just to recover from that ID theft.
Yep.
Because once that's happened, that means that your social security number's out there. They've got your personal information. So guess what? If you don't check your credit report, you're probably going to have a credit card coming on. You're going to have, all of a sudden you've bought a house in
Yes.
Costa Rica or somewhere else.
And and that's that's a very good point. And you should be watching your credit report because when people make inquiries into your credit report, you can be made aware of that. And that's one of the things that we track. And we had one recently where a different one for me I'd never seen before, someone had actually called my vehicle insurance company asking for a vehicle insurance credit card. And they called me and asked me why I wanted another card. And I said, don't want another card. So a new approach, approach that I'd never seen or heard of before. So you've just got to be monitoring your credit card, and don't have a lot of credit cards. I mean, some people say, well, I got 7 or 8 credit cards. Well, I would not have 7 or 8 credit cards. Have 1 or 2 and that's it.
And monitor them frequently.
And monitor them frequently.
One of the things that I understand that the scammers do is if they get a credit card or a debit card, they'll go and they'll make a couple of small transactions. Yeah. $5, $10. They'll go to McDonald's, they'll go to Starbucks, they may do an online purchase for a book from Amazon.com or something, just to make sure it's good. And then after that, the big hits start.
Then the big hit will happen. Now the good news is the credit cards are on the hook for it.
The credit cards, but if it's a debit card.
It's a debit card, that's a different story. Yeah. Credit cards are on the hook, debit cards, that's just like you
That's your cash.
You wrote a cash.
You wrote cash, it's gone.
Right.
So
I rarely use a debit card. But there's places you have to. There's some, and I'm not going to name the companies, but you all know the companies that you have to, they'll only take a debit card.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine call me, and she was incredibly upset because of an issue she had with a local bank, and she used a debit card for something, and it got compromised, and fortunately she caught it. It was only out $80 or $90, but she was demanding the money back because it was a MasterCard debit card. And I was like, well, did you put your PIN number in, or was it processed as a credit card? She said, well, I put my PIN number in because we don't want to use credit card. Yeah. Well, that was like a withdrawal on the ATM, and so you have no recourse. Yeah. It's up to the bank if they're going to refund it.
Yeah, it's up to the bank to see if they're nice and see if they're nice. And another alert, and I just thought of it, is the fact that if you get a new debit card in the mail from your bank or credit union or whatever, and you didn't request it, that means something happened.
I mean, someone did.
Yeah, it may not have been you,
right,
but they've reissued a whole bunch of new debit cards for some reason. Something happened. And it's not like the annual renewal. If it's like in the middle of the year, wait, this is not the end of the year. Why am I just got one 6 months ago. That means something happened.
Something happened. Either if someone didn't request it, then there may have been a breach at the
the
issuer or somewhere
or
online.
they've added additional security to that particular debit card. I mean, you're seeing that happening now with the credit card swipes or debit cards are not reading this swipe anymore. They're reading the chip.
Right.
Walmart were the first, I think, in Hawaii to do that. If you go to Walmart now, you don't swipe your card. It reads the chip.
Well, that brings up a good point. How susceptible are those chips to people coming along and scanning your wallet or your purse?
It's like, that was the day gone by. I think that's more of the old school side now.
It's not as common.
Not as common. I think if you want to come back and just look at this from a security standpoint, if you've got your internet access to your home, your router better have refresh passwords. If you put in wireless camera systems, you better have refreshed all the passwords on those camera systems. Most people put them in and say, great.
Don't leave it as default.
That's it. Those are so easy to hack. We actually demonstrated on one of our shows where we went in and show a way to look at 70,000 home video cameras, security cameras. 70,000 were all open because they used out-of-the-box password that came from the manufacturer. So you've got to go in and change all of that stuff and make it 21 characters and alphanumerics long. 21.
So 21 characters. That's mind-boggling. That's like,
It's mind-boggling, but it has to be that number. Now, there's techniques. I'm not going to tell you what mine are, but you can. There's techniques to remember what those 21 are. And by the way, and they have to be unique for every.
Yeah, so in other words, don't use the same password for all 15 of your accounts.
If you've got 3 banks, you have 3 different ones. If you've got 4 of this, 3 of that, whatever. And don't save passwords on your PC. Yeah. Don't save them on it.
It's interesting. I think back to my late ex-father-in-law, and he worked security for a bank, and it always boggled my mind why he had a binder, paper binder at home above his desk with his passwords, and everyone had written down, and it was that. odd combinations and numbers and characters and upper and lower case. Why is that important? What's the
Well, that's today's. I mean, that's unfortunately that's where we are today. Now you're going to see, I think, you will see an evolution in how this is happening. I'll use Windows 10 as an example. When Windows 10 and the Surface Pro 4 comes out, that's got face scan, facial recognition for your laptop. And it does two-factor authentication, so it will look at your face. It is infrared, so it looks at it, can't put a photo up there, and then it's going to send a code to your mobile device that you will then also enter as well. And everything on the machine is encrypted. So that's the level that's happening now. And all of the manufacturers, vendors, and so on are moving into that realm to make it to secure the products that we're using, because we are mobile. We can no longer live without them.
You bring up a good point, because like you have the people of our generations that are older generations that are becoming more comfortable with, well, you brought up the year.
I know.
So that are getting more comfortable with the mobile technology, but we've got a lot of younger people, the kids, the grandkids,
Right.
that are using the iPads and the iPods and their tablets and those things, and they're playing games and they're downloading freeware and downloading games and connected programs that they're on wide area networks where they're playing these games together.
Right.
What are some of the risks that the folks should be
Well,
wary
this is
of?
this is it, and this is I come back to parenting. Okay, I mean, as a parent, you need to be aware of what your children are doing, and it's like politeness. It's like anything you do in life. You have to watch over your children and what they do. I mean, I follow my grandchildren on their social media accounts, and I tell them, if you start up a social media account that I'm not aware of, then the bank of grandpa may dry up. So I watch. It's like anything else. You teach them to cross the road right. You teach them to this is a tool set. When you drive a car, we teach you to drive the car right. This is a tool set. You use this tool set right. It really is a lot to do with parenting.
So you've got the parenting. You want to be engaged. You want to know what they're doing.
Right.
Let's say that someone's watching this now and they're like, okay, I'm going to go look and see. What are some of the things that they should look out for on those devices that they may want to be concerned about?
Well, I would look at find out what applications they've downloaded. I mean, maybe it's a weekly thing. You get together and say, okay, let's see what's happening. I'd like to know when you download a new application on that device, what that application's for, whether it's Pinterest or Instagram or Twitter or whatever. Whatever. I want to know what this. I want to know your Facebook and Twitter accounts. I want to know all the social media accounts that you're on. And just be monitoring and make it a regular part of what goes on. And then have, I hate to say this, but you got to have the surprises too, because I'll download it Monday through Friday, because on Saturday they're going to check, and they'll delete it and then they'll bring it back on Sunday. So I mean, so it's all part of that thing, right? It's all part of what you've got to do when you're watching over what they do.
It's just amazing, the things you got to think about, and in that mindset, as we're mobile. I talked recently to folks about the fact that when you're out walking around, you've got your phone or your iPad on, and it's on scan for any open network,
right.
And it jumps on. What is it when we connect to a public network or an open network? What are some of the risks that people need to be
You are
worried
taking
about?
the risk. The moment you jump onto it, so in my mobile devices, it's turned off, because I intentionally go onto that particular hotspot or wireless location as my choice to go on. But if you leave your Wi-Fi on, and there's one that's open, and you walk down the street, it will jump on it. And if you've left tracking on, like GPS tracking on it, if you've left that on, then you're being tracked. So that's happening on there. So I turn them off. There may be some reasons that you want them on for Johnny's walking home from school. I want to know where Johnny is. But you can teach Johnny to turn this on when he leaves school, and then turn it off when they get back home.
And you can also adjust it, as I understand, for the different applications that are on the phone or the
And
device.
there's apps you can download that are specifically isolated to keep that in that package, right? Where I'm just watching this with who's within this group. But all of those things, because not everybody's open wireless is secured. It's just not. Now, the big players don't want to get sued, so they'll do some things, like the McDonald's and the Starbucks and those things. They will do some things, but they've also got that EULA, that licensing agreement, that you agree that it's your problem if anything happens. Then no one reads.
Yeah,
They just say, I accept.
Yeah, you click. It's like you have to scroll down all the way
Yeah,
through.
and who's going to
and
read 10
click on it.
pages of that legalese?
Exactly. I mean, in terms of those kind of situations where consumers are not reading the fine print, what are some of the stories you've heard out there about some of the worst case scenarios that people may have been faced with of something that they agreed to they didn't know about?
There's one that's, and I'm not going to name the organization, to name the company, but they produce a television set. And when you bought this television set, a smart television set, you signed a EULA on this television set. What they didn't tell you is the camera system on that television set was tracking everything that you did, and they had the right to all of that data that they were gathering.
So in other words, the camera on the TV is pointed into your
Into
living room or your bedroom or whatever.
And also tracking everything. So you went to Netflix or Hulu and Hulu Plus and all of that, all of the sites and all the TV stations and anything that you went to, if you went to Amazon, all of that was tracked and they owned that data. Now they got caught and that no longer exists, but it's there. And I can do the same with PCs. If you look at a brand new PC when you buy it out of the box, there's a lot of software on that device that you never agreed to purchase or get for free. When you sign that EULA, that's now yours. So, I mean, we encourage people when you get a new machine, the first thing you do is you go through it and look at everything you should take off of it. Clean it up. There's a lot of stuff you don't need.
You know, it's one of those choices that people have to make of how much of their private lives and their personal identity they're willing to give up for the convenience that they're going to get from something or the perceived convenience. So it's their responsibility to look and read the details and find out about it. One of the most popular social networking sites recently, it came up and said something about when you agree to it, like the microphone is on or something,
Yep.
they listen on your phone or they can track what you say. Is that?
Yeah, those are all, there's so many. I mean, there's literally so many technologies out there, application software-wise or hardware-wise, can allow you to infiltrate. I don't think people should get panicky. This is not 1984 per se, but you know, when you go out into, when you leave your home and turn the lights on and get out into the public, you are now open to being tracked in some way or another. There's street cameras. I mean, they're just there, and I'm for street cameras for safety. But you know, they're just there.
You know, when people are out in their homes and they're doing things, a lot of times we'll find that folks are being called, or someone will stop by and say, oh, you know, congratulations, someone sent you this basket of flowers is the most recent one, but, you know, I need you to use your debit card to pay the $3 whatever because there's a bottle of wine or there's alcohol, and they've got one of those little devices that they scan. What do you recommend that people do when they're approached with someone like that?
There is no free lunch.
No free lunch.
There is no free lunch. If someone approaches you and you didn't ask it, no. The answer is no.
So learn to be rude.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it, but you know, this can go somewhere else. Yeah, anything that's a solicitation of any kind that comes in the mail. And I've seen some really look very professional solicitations saying, congratulations on your new purchase of your new home. There is, you know, there's certain legal things that you should put in place. If you send $125, we'll set. Wait. Find out whether or not that $125 has anything to do with anything. You know, it's highly unlikely that someone's going to say that you missed this during escrow. This is something that's coming in after the fact. Unless you ask for it, then I worry.
Now, let's say that someone has made a mistake. They've done something like that. What's the first thing that they should do in terms of if they think they may have made a mistake?
Well, it's, you know, your banks, even if in doubt, you can put alerts on everything. Call your banks, call your credit cards, call the Better Business Bureau. You know, there's just all those ones that you know. Just you call them, they flag your account. And so you just do those instantly. I also encourage people that if you're going to travel out of country, you call your credit card companies and you give them a heads up. They've got a whole process where they actually track when you go and when you come in, and they may or they may not call you when a purchase is made when you're traveling out of country. So any of those kinds of things, all that preventive maintenance kind of thing you can do. And don't wait, do it now. Just say,
doesn't cost anything.
Doesn't cost anything. No. Any purchase that I put on my credit card that's more than X dollars, I want to be alerted for. Or anything that's out of state. Anything that's online, I don't do online purchases. If you're that kind of person, I don't want any online purchases. let them know.
Wow, that's really great advice, because then they can put a fraud watch on your account.
Right.
They can set it up in their system and say that this consumer will not buy anything online.
Right.
So if we see anything online, we can decline it,
Right.
or notify them that there's a potential problem with
Right.
their account.
They'll give you a call either that day or the next day. You're going to get one and say, you know, Mr. Bruce, we noticed you made a purchase of a book at Amazon. Did you do that purchase? Oh, yes, I did do that purchase at Amazon. That's correct. That's mine. But you know, at least they've been alerted. My credit cards, anything that's a large purchase, I get a call for online purchases that are large.
Okay, excellent. And then as a follow-up to that, how often should people check their credit report? I mean, it's something that you're entitled to a free credit report every year or something?
Yeah, every year you're entitled to one. I would do more than once a year. I would at least once a quarter want to get a credit report and see status where I am. There's ways to get them for free without having to worry about paying for them. So look and see if you can find ways of doing that.
Yeah, because definitely you don't need to go and pay a company to monitor that. Or,
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those out there. Free credit report.xyz or whatever they are. I mean, you got to read the fine print. You know, maybe you get the first one for free, but then you got to pay a $9 a month subscription fee. So, which you don't want to do. Right. If they want your credit card, the moment they ask for your credit card, say no. It's not free anymore. Right. So those kinds of things. Sometimes even if you have a good relationship with your bank, go to the bank and say, could you guys run a credit, check my credit report for me. They might very well do that for you. They're doing it all the time.
Right. So they have a link in with the system, and they're doing it for loans. And
for loans, they're tracking your accounts anyway. They may, if they send you a solicitation for refinance your home or a home equity line of credit, there's a high probability they've already done a credit report check on you already, because why would they send one off when someone's not, got a good reputation?
Yeah, you've been pre-screened.
You've been pre-screened, yeah,
and they're going to send a good customer. So,
yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. I really appreciate you taking the time to come down and share with us all this great information. We've got just a couple of seconds left. What's the one thing you want to leave people with in their mind is how can they best protect themselves?
The best protect yourself is like when you're crossing the street. You cross the street, you check the signal light, you look both ways, and you cross the street. That's preventive maintenance. It's the same with what you're doing with anything to do with online purchases, credit card use, and so on. Just be careful with what you're doing. If in doubt, don't do it. Even if you have a doubt, don't do it.
Don't do it. If you're not sure, just ask.
Yeah,
right?
I go, if in doubt, leave it out.
If in doubt, leave it out. Well, Gordon, I really appreciate your coming down and joining us today. It's been a great conversation as always. Good to see you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
So, I want to thank you for joining us today on Is This For Real? I'm Gregory Dunn with Hawaii's Better Business Bureau, encouraging you to check out hawaii.bbb.org if you have a question about anything. And remember, if you're unsure, ask. Aloha.